everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Sunday Sit Down, the show where everything goes and nothing gets left behind. I am very excited to have my launching episode for a monthly 60-minute live show once a Sunday every month. And it is a pleasure to have my very first guest with me on the show to discuss a very important topic for all YouTubers. She is someone who has been on YouTube as a YouTube viewer and commentator, as well as someone who produces content herself for just about maybe even longer than I have. She is a movie fanatic. She is a subscription box reviewer. She is an all-around Star Wars, comic book, and Disney fanatic. Rachel from Rachel's Reviews, good morning. It is a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Hi, I'm so excited to be on the show. I'm so honored that I'm the first person you thought of. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't feel that there was anyone more appropriate as someone who is also one of my very first few subscribers that I had, especially when my channel was finally starting to get recognized by a lot of people in the YouTube communities on all spectrums. So we're going to be sitting down for about 60 minutes for a topic of conversation. So if you are all coming in to join us, I hope you have a nice cup of coffee or a cup of water or whatever you enjoy drinking the most, and just sit back and enjoy the conversation. We're going to be talking about the topic of being a YouTube veteran. I have started my 8th year on YouTube as a content creator, but I have been on YouTube as a watcher of content since pretty much I discovered it, which I think was around 2008. Rachel, let me ask you, let's start with the beginning here. Just a couple of questions here. When did you first discover YouTube, and what was it to you when you first found it?
Well, so when I first started, it was just sort of a tool that I used for my blog. Because I started blogging, I have 2 blogs, but this year, 2018, will mark my 10-year anniversary of my personal blog, smilingldsgirl.com. And I started that blog. I had an experience in 2007 where I quit my job, and it was this huge, life-changing moment. And people that follow me in my channel are probably sick of me talking about it, because it was a real big moment for me where I just decided I couldn't take it anymore and I was done. So as part of sort of the, in a way, kind of healing process for what I'd gone through, I started this personal blog. And so I started having the YouTube channel at first just as a tool to load up my recitals or, just things like that. I wasn't really treating it as a channel, but just as something to help my blog. But I don't know, it was 2012, I think, is when I started. There was this YouTuber named Mortimer, and she doesn't post much anymore. But anyway, she did this whole subscription box thing, and I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds like the most fun thing I've ever heard of. And so I decided to do my own version of it, and I got super into it. And it was just like me in front of my laptop, taking stuff out of these boxes and just having a blast. And then I did a DVD review and a few, because I had always loved film criticism. I've always loved reading film criticism. I've always loved talking about film. And I grew up watching Siskel and Ebert. And so it was a real sort of almost fantasy of mine, the idea of sort of talking about film with people. And my parents were really good about they never wanted us to just sort of mindlessly absorb entertainment. They wanted us to think about, a lot of other Mormon families that I knew, they weren't allowed to watch The Simpsons. But for my parents, they were fine with it because they thought it was smart. They thought it was something that would give you, yes, it has stupid drunk moments, whatever, but there's a lot of smart stuff in The Simpsons, especially in, back then. And anyway, and so my parents were really good about don't just absorb this. Let's talk about it. What did you like about it? Why did it work for you? Why did it not work for you? What was funny about it? They wanted us to think about things. And that's just the way my parents are. And so my family was always a family that just like talked about stuff. Uh, and and it was funny because I never really realized that until I went away to college. And I remember one time my friends, we saw the movie Chocolat, and I didn't really like it. And my friends were just like, "Oh, what a like fun romantic movie." And I was like, I didn't like the way that I can't remember, it's been years since I saw it, but at the time I remember thinking like, I didn't like the way that they treated the priest character or the religious character, and I thought it was sort of insulting and it rubbed me the wrong way. And I remember talking to him, I remember saying that in the car and being like, that was really demeaning the way that they depicted this character as this like simpleton and blah 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 blah. And they were all like, oh, can't you just enjoy the movie? I'm like, this is how I enjoy the movie. This is what makes it fun to me, is like talking about it and thinking about it and whatever. And
Right.
And so I learned to just be like, except for the people I knew were kind of cool with that, you know. Anyway,
Right.
and so it was always something that I loved and I thought would be fun. And so one of the first ones that I ever did, I did a DVD collection review. And then one of the first ones that I did was about how angry I was about the finale of How I Met Your Mother.
Oh man, we just talked about that off the air.
Yeah, I did like a 28-minute video about how upset I was. I literally cried, I think. Like I was so mad. And so that was one of the first ones that I ever did. I still actually kind of like it. I think it's good. And I make solid points.
Yeah, it's great when we look back to our old videos and we actually, even though we don't think that we present as well as we do now, it is great to still see that the content that we were bringing was still something that we enjoy, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And so basically there were like kind of two things that happened. First thing that kind of made me pump it up to a high gear. Well, so I felt like I had been working in accounting for like 10 years, and it was fine. I got to work from home, so I was very blessed. But I just felt like I wanted something more. I felt this sort of spiritual prompting to like try to push myself and try to like expand my skill set. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're wasting all your time on YouTube because you're not making like an income." But like what they don't realize is that like I have learned so much that has helped me significantly in my career. And what happened was around 2013, I just decided I got to kick this up into like full gear. I'm gonna like take photos of the items from the unboxing. I'm not just gonna do it live like I've been doing before. I'm gonna invest in Adobe Premiere, like all these things. And so I really like tried. And I'm not saying those videos are like great, but I really stepped it up from what I had been doing before. And right around that time, I had no idea. Right around that time, there became a marketing position open at the company that I was working for in accounting. And my dad told me about it because he was working for the company at the time. And so I applied, and one of the main things that they asked is, how are you going to work with YouTube content creators? Which was amazing because I would never have known if I hadn't felt that kind of prompting lead me in that direction and to up my game on YouTube. I would have had no idea how to answer that question. But it was just one of those cool spiritual moments. And I interviewed for the job, and it was actually like a cut in pay. But to me, it was well worth it because I knew that I'd be doing something creative and something that I would love. And I basically got hired to like be on like Pinterest. Like this last week, I spent my whole time just working on the Pinterest pages for the company. And so anyway, I knew this was like the perfect job for me. And so anyway, so a lot of what I try to do is to try to help me gain even more skills. Like everything I can learn on my channel is something that can help me with my job. So whether it's like the social media promotion, whether it's the editing, whether it's the visuals, you know, creating things in Photoshop, the thumbnails, all that is stuff that I can use to make me better at my job. And so there was that. But then also what happened in 2014 I tore my MCL
Right, I
on
remember
my
that. I
leg.
remember that.
Yeah. And so this is when I started my Disney blog.
Yes,
And
as a matter of fact, that was going to lead me into my second question. So let's just put that off because there was something that I wanted to say. First
yeah,
of all, your journey in the beginnings of YouTube is very, very different to mine. So it is really inspiring to hear that everybody's discovery and enjoyment of YouTube before they officially decided to create their own platform is great, because my beginnings, I was already someone who was obsessed with entertainment, and I was posting reviews of movies and music and books on Amazon. And I don't do that as much as I used to, but I still do that because I think it's fine to get the written word out. And YouTube was something that I discovered, while everybody else was discovering YouTube for kiddie videos, I was discovering YouTube as an easy way to access movie trailers. So I was able to find all of these great movie trailers. But when I discovered a YouTuber in 2010 named Film Fanatic 57, he's not here anymore, and it's a shame because he was amazing. Because what I admired about him most was this was a kid that was only 13 years old. He was in his last year of elementary school, and he was talking about movies like a professional critic in his late 20s, early 30s, like a real
yeah,
journalist. Like, I never heard a 13-year-old have a vocabulary like he did talking about a movie like Toy Story 3. And I
yeah.
was saying to myself, wow, if a 13-year-old kid can do this, then why can't someone who's already in his 20s do this too? So that was the beginning of my show. And that was when I started making my own reviews. And it was a couple of years later when you actually tore your ACL and you started reviewing all the Disney classics. And that was when I said, something, I want to try and do that too, especially because of the fact that there are so many Disney classics that I hadn't seen in a while, some that I remembered loving and as a child, curious to see if I would appreciate or love them as an adult. By the way, I also want to say it is so wonderful to see who is in the comments right now. There are some listeners here, and there's some great YouTubers. Everybody, thank you so much for taking your time to watch us and hear what we have to say. So that's going to lead into the second question, and that's
All right.
what triggered your actually, let me what was the videos or the series of videos that made you really start to get noticed by more people, and what also made you discover that YouTube was more than just making videos, rather that it actually was a community?
That's a really good question. I kind of joke that, like, I feel like my most popular videos are videos that I actually don't speak in, which is a little bit insulting, but there you go. But my most popular videos are my two Disney ranking videos. They're the most popular. And so then I decided to, so I reviewed the Disney canon, because I was really proud of myself about that, because I had this negative situation where I couldn't move, and I was in so much pain, and like, thankfully I had a job that I could do from my sick bed, whatever, thank goodness. But I had this negative situation, and I had always wanted to review the Disney canon. I'd always wanted to watch the Disney canon, because there were so many ones that I had never seen, that I'd heard about, the package era films, the Black Cauldron, movies like that I'd heard about but never seen. I always wanted to do it. And so I took a negative situation and turned it into something positive. And I've always been kind of proud of that and proud of those reviews.
Absolutely. And I really enjoy your insight. I really do.
Thanks. And that's where we met, like, because you had given a shout out to one of my reviews in your Great Mouse Detective review. And then we did a collaboration on it was an underrated animation videos that we did.
Right,
Do you remember that?
right.
Yeah.
Yes, the 10
And
for 12, the 10 for 12.
yeah. And so I think that, I mean, I've always really admired the way you're such a planner. You're amazing. The
Yeah,
way you plan your channel.
I still don't even know how I do this. The usual joke is I sold a portion of my soul to the devil in my sleep, and that's why I'm able to burn on all cylinders 24/7. I still don't know how I've been doing that even until today, because my life has become such a different thing. I mean, when I go back to my old videos in 2011, I'm still
Yeah.
at my old job in finance. I'm still single. I'm still living in my parents' house in my old room. And then now I
Yeah.
look at myself. I have a brand new job. I got a master's degree. I'm happily married. And
Right.
my wife and I are on the verge of becoming homeowners. So it's
Right.
amazing to see how where I have gone on this YouTube journey, because YouTube
Yeah.
really was a major contributing factor to helping me get organized, helping me communicate with people better, really taking a hold of my own real life situation
Mm-hmm.
and using YouTube as a tool to drive me. And it also
Yeah.
made me and it also turned me into a much bigger film appreciator, because I started branching my channel into various segments where, I take a look at movies that I missed in theaters. I take a look at classic films that I had never seen, that I knew as a film appreciator I should have seen years ago, and now I am finally seeing them. And it's because of the fact that I've gone in so many of these amazing directions that I feel that I have become a better person. And you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. When you and I started discovering each other's channels around that time, that was when I also started learning about the concept of community. I suddenly
Yeah.
realized that YouTubers were actually doing live streams with each other. People were actually becoming real life friends with each other in real life. They were meeting each other at conventions, and there were even some people that didn't even realize that they actually had some of these people as neighbors, or they lived in their neighborhood, or just like the next town over. So community really started to take
Mm-hmm.
shape here. And then you and I went on to do the begin the Friday Five.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. I think that there's like two things going on here. One, I think that if you're talking about what things really help build my channel, that's kind
Right.
of a different conversation than like what things help me build community. The things that helped me that did very well. I think that if people had their say, they would have me talk about Disney all the time. Like Disney, Disney,
Yeah.
Disney. People love when I talk about Disney, and that's cool. And I'm really excited about new podcasts me and my friend Stanford are doing. We just did Cinderella, where we're going to be reviewing the canon one every month, and we're going to be talking in depth about them. And I'm really excited about that. So I'm trying to provide Disney content. I really am. But like people, so definitely as far as like getting followers and getting things, that was definitely probably my top. I would say my top three things that I've done. One, my reviewing the Disney canon every week. I never missed a week. There were weeks when I was
Great.
sick, and I never missed a week. And I'm really proud of every single one of those videos. And I think Disney deserves a lot of credit, because I only had one video out of all of 57 that got tagged, that got dinged for copyright. One.
Really?
And I used clips, I used songs, and I mean, they are pretty cool. I think they don't get enough credit for how, compared to some of the other studios, like they're pretty amazing. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Disney canon, that was definitely very popular. Then a series I did on the animated Oscars was definitely something that a lot of people really liked and was a lot of fun for me to do. And where I said, did the right one win? And so I watched
Oh, I
all of the
love that. That is one of my favorite things that you did. I loved that.
people really loved it, and I'm very excited. Even though I have to watch the Boss Baby again, I'm
Oh.
excited. I'm excited to do this year's version, this year's entry.
I'm
And so that was very
excited. I'm
popular.
really
And then
excited.
also a series I did on my top 50 animated films of all time. Those are probably my top three as far as getting views, getting people to the channel. And I really enjoyed all of those. Those were amazing. And then I would say as far as like community, I think the podcast is where I feel like I've really made friends, not only the people that I have podcasted with, I just recorded one last night with Abby and Jeremy, who I started we did the whole all the Star Wars movies with them.
Right.
And that was one of the first ones I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I've gotten to know so many amazing people doing these podcasts, whether it's Richard Southworth, who's amazing, whether it's Tom Gunn, we did all the Star Trek movies, and that was so fun to like dive into those, and like there's people that have been so amazing and listened to all my podcasts. Joe Tofano, someone like that became a really good friend,
right.
Who was so great. There's just so many, Matthew Aaronholt, so many great people, and that listen
Matt's
to
watching
podcasts.
right now, by the way.
Yeah, and then the Hallmarks podcast has been something that's been so exciting for me, and that's a whole separate channel, and then being a whole separate channel. But that and my, the time spent with my friend Amber and just talking about these silly Hallmark movies and having a blast. And so the podcast has been kind of where I've wanted to go as opposed to edited content. And I don't know, it's just so rewarding to me to talk with my friends and talk about these various things. And I think there's something, I did a blog the other day called I think I titled it like the satisfaction of being an expert, and because we all know all this stuff, like once you finish school, like you have all this knowledge, right? But nobody really cares, like you just you do your thing every day at work, and you might have a couple people that are interested in what you have to say in your life, but like you don't really get to use your knowledge, and so I can like have this podcast with my friend Tom about Star Trek Discovery, and he knows so much about Star Trek, and he's this expert, and it feels good, I think, to have somebody, even if it's just little old me on YouTube, say like, I'm interested in what you have to say. I'm interested in all this knowledge that you have. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And my sense of community was a very interesting time in YouTube, and it's an older video that I have, and I actually tweeted it out when the whole platform of YouTube went into its new rules, and we'll discuss that right before the end of the show. But when I found out that in 2014 it was, I believe, that there was actually a sexual assault scandal that was going on in the YouTube community, some of these major large names of YouTubers were actually taking advantage of some of their younger viewers, I just said to myself that is one of the most disturbing things. And I never would have imagined, because listen, sometimes we go to things like the movies and we listen to our favorite album and we go to YouTube for a sense of safety and security, and we want to feel at peace with ourselves and with other people that we're watching and commenting on. But when I found out that something like that got to YouTube, it made me really upset. And as an older person in the community, I said to myself, I need to be a more active community member, not just as a content producer, but as someone who is actually willing to reach out to and talk to younger people who are trying to find a great place to be a part of a community. I want wholesome, positive, good people here because they're here. They're all over here. We just don't know where to find them because there's so much content on this one little platform. But
well, you've always been sort of more aware of like the YouTube drama, which I thankfully am not aware of, because I'll turn on your channel and you'll be like, I can't believe that I'm like, oh my gosh, holy cow, which is good, and I'm glad that you do that. It's very good.
Well, we have to because we have to let people know that the good people are listening as well. So that's why I started the motivational moments. That's why I started taking things like my 10 for 12s and collabing with other YouTubers instead. And that is why not just talking about DCAU animated films, I started doing the live show with Brian Lomax. And because of what happened in YouTube just this year is why I created this show, because I want people to know who's out there, and I want people to know that there is positive content out there. So the next question that I want to ask you is, as someone who has been using this platform for quite a number of years, let's face it, it's evolved. The platform has changed. The user interface has changed. There was a point in time when you actually were able to send people video responses and put them in the comments.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about the changes that YouTube has made to its overall platform? And did it take you, or did you find any challenges to evolve with it?
You know, I think that the most annoying change actually for me was probably them separating from Google, because they've just made like Google Hangouts like problems, and it just, I don't know, that I wish that that was kind of frustrating. But also I think that I don't mind as much I feel for the small YouTubers, because it is discouraging to get that email. I get that, but I mean, I'm still very, very small, but I didn't get the email at least. But
Hey, I fought to get you those 1,000 subscribers. You deserve
I know
to be a
you
member
did.
of
Thank
you
you.
deserve to be a member of the 1K club. Yes, you do.
Thank you. But I think the recent demonetization for suitable advertising is very frustrating. That to me is just because you work so hard to make your video, something that will work and fit with copyright and whatever, and it's just ridiculous. And it's frustrating when you see these big YouTubers that they get a pass, and it's something like my Winnie the Pooh review gets a not suitable. You're like, really? It's frustrating on that level, but like, I don't know. And it's just frustrating because there's no there's no way to appeal. There's no sense of it. Like, all you can do is sort of try to make a stink online on Twitter, but that's about it. Like, you don't really have anything. Yes, they have a system where you can file a dispute, but like, that's pretty lame. And so I just wish that YouTube was more organized and was more. I feel like YouTube is more interested in the viewers and the advertisers than they are about the content creators. And
I agree. I agree
I wish that
100%.
I wish that they were more interested in helping us and being an advocate for us as content creators. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely, like I said, I've moved sort of a little bit away from edited content because it's just so much work, and it's so you have to just deal with so much, as opposed to when I'm podcasting. I know that it's not as much work. It's more rewarding. It's more fun for me, and um, it's you just don't have to deal with the same copyright kind of things. And I don't know. So I've kind of that. It's just more rewarding in general. But I still do family movie night every Sunday.
Right.
I still
You just reviewed Remember the Titans, which is a fantastic Disney film.
yeah. And so for Super Bowl Sunday, yeah. So every Sunday I
Makes
do
sense.
family
Yeah.
movie night, and I still do Friday 5, and I still, we'll post reviews. I just posted Peter Rabbit review. I try to see every animated film. Last year I saw 41 animated films. So I try, I try my best, but anyway, I've just definitely been more interested in sort of podcasting, and I like what iTunes and some of the podcasting platforms are doing and the way they're supporting their content creators a little bit more sometimes than YouTube.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, I really don't like the fact that YouTube has really started to turn itself into a real big business. The fact that the highest rated channels right now and some of the most viewed channels outside of big name YouTubers like PewDiePie and Nerdy Nummies, these are things like CBS, NBC, ABC. I mean, for crying out loud, people like Saturday Night Live and Jimmy Kimmel have their own YouTube channels. I don't understand. People are still the proud owners of televisions, and they can still watch all of this content on a television. And as somebody who is using streaming services but not totally dependent on streaming services, I really feel that YouTube should be given back to the people, because we are the reason as to why YouTube is here. We are the reason as to why YouTube is successful. And when the monetization
Yeah.
stuff came out, this was something that I was a little bit on the fence with, just because of the fact that I wasn't sure what it was for. But as someone who's a content creator, I pay to see movies, I pay to buy DVDs and CDs and books. I pay for Netflix, I pay for Amazon Prime to bring all of my content. So to a certain extent, I feel that the monetization, if it's just a couple of dollars, at least I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a reward for the work that I'm doing. But my most popular videos, the ones that really launched me, were my Gnome docs, when I did my DC animated universe, Bruce Timm universe thing. That was back in 2012, and that just skyrocketed. The first episode still has almost 200,000 views. I never would have imagined having a video that did something like that. And my Disney reviews, people love that as well, which is why when I noticed that I was running out of classics, we can't let that happen. People love this. There's like 100 views on each of those videos almost all the time, which is why I roped in Studio Ghibli films as well as Disney Pixar films, because I want that thing to continue. And I feel that the collabs are the ones that are really going to get the most views, because these are the things that people like to see. They like to see real people interacting with other real people and all of that. So we've actually just reached the midway point. It's just 12:31 Eastern Standard Time. So I just wanted to say that, everybody, it is a pleasure to see you all in the comments. I'm glad to see the conversation going. Just want to let everybody know that as soon as this does in fact end at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the video is going to be taken down, because I want to add an intro and an outro, and I want to just make it look really nice and professional. And this is going to happen every single month after each show. It'll go back up on Monday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and all of Rachel's information, including her blogs as well as her Twitter, will be in the description box, so you can check her out. I highly recommend that you do. So let's go into the final half hour and give you the next question. And I don't want this to be any more in-depth than it has to be, because we're definitely going to be drama-free. But there is a lot of drama in YouTube now, particularly thanks to the last 2 years. Topics like politics and bullying and diversity, feminism, the whole thing with the crazy left and the crazy right, all of these extreme hot button things that have caused YouTube to literally be sitting on its head and taking actions that are not necessarily great for the community as a whole. Because like you and some people who are watching here in the comments today are people that just don't want to be involved in that. But sometimes it's very hard to avoid it. I'll give a completely different kind of example. I don't like celebrity at all. I love going to movies. I don't like talking about the actors, because the people that you see on screen are not the people that are actually living on this planet in real life. One of the things I cannot stand is keeping up with the Kardashians. Yet for some strange reason, those Kardashians manage to find me, and I know what the hell is going on, and it pains me to know that I do, because I feel like I'm losing IQ points with every passing day when their names come up in the news.
I've never seen an episode of the show, and yet I know every single one of their names. Why do I know that? Like,
I don't know. It is a terrible thing to think. It really is. But getting back to the question,
okay,
what is your attitude about all of these dramatic people and all of this controversy that really, in my opinion, does not need to be stirred? Because we're better than this as a whole in this platform and in this community.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because there you've got like your clickbaiters, who are like specifically stoking that controversy and trying to get, even if it's like people that, like title their thing like Wonder Woman is the worst movie ever. So you know what I mean? Like that's like a clickbaiter that's like trying to whatever. And so there's those people. And then there's people that have a view that is controversial. and they may even kind of by accident not really realize that it's controversial when they post the video, but like, and I have more sympathy for those people because they might, because you know things live forever, you know, and there's positions that I had in, let's say, I don't know, 2008, like that I'm not having now, you know, like I grow and learn as a person, and I am affected by, so I do kind of feel more for those people than like the people that are the clickbaiters and that are the provocators and that are trying to like there's one I think it was Slant, I think magazine, I can't remember, when I was doing my Disney Canon reviews, there was one I started to notice that on Rotten Tomatoes, there was one magazine, I think it was Slant, but don't quote me on that, I can't remember. But anyway, that literally hated every single Disney movie, you know, right. And it was just like, they had like Little Mermaid was trash, and Beauty and the Beast was trash, and just everything was trash. And you're just like, and you don't notice it when you're just looking at one movie, but because I was doing the series, I'm like, there's always this one person, and I started to read the reviews, and I'm like, these reviews suck. Like, they're not interesting. They're not like, you know, like they're not stating sort of and arguing an opinion. Like, they're just like, I don't know how to explain it, but they're just like making, they're basically like making really broad statements as opposed to like really making like an argument about the film.
I agree. I think a lot of people are painting things with broad brushes these days, and it's not healthy.
Yeah, and so that's where I think it's an interesting thing. The clickbaiters, I do not. There's even some people that like I initially like respected and liked their content. I'm not going to name names, but like I feel like have sort of gone down that clickbaity route, and I stopped subscribing to them, which is fine. And if that's what they want to do for their channel, then more power to them. They get a lot more views than I do, but like it's just not something I enjoy.
Yeah, and I saw it full force in the BookTube community, which is a very small community compared to some of the other ones that are out there. And there are lots of people in this chat room that I will definitely shout a couple of people. I know that Indie Insomniac, who's in the chat. I know that Joe the Great, who's in the chat. They brought the thunder on some of these controversial topics. And one of the few things that they have definitely said that a lot of people in the community with a brain in their head have said is, you are allowed to read whatever book you want to read and feel however you want to feel. People need to get back to a time where it's okay to agree to disagree. And people also need to be willing to talk to people who don't think like they do, just so they can feel a little bit wiser about the world around them. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I feel like also like I'm an intelligent person, and so I can listen. I can listen to, let's just say, something we disagree on. Like, you love Batman v Superman. I don't like it. I don't love it. I don't hate it like some people, as much as some people, but I don't love it. And I can listen to your argument, and it's a cogent, thoughtful argument, and I can say, I don't agree, but I agree with. I respect your argument. Right. And I maybe you could do that with me. Hopefully I try. And so like, I feel like that's how grown-ups should behave. And I was like, and I do think that having like a rant response is a valid response to a movie. If it really, really ticks you off that much. But I think I save it for like 2 movies a year. So if like last year, The Glass Castle really made me mad. I was very offended by it. It really made me mad. It was rant worthy. And so I think that that's fine, but I just think that use it very judiciously and make sure you're making an argument. Make sure that you're explaining, you're not just sort of throwing out hyperbole, that you're actually like making an argument of like, I didn't like this for bang, 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 bang. And then people, what are they going to say? They're going to say, you're wrong for not liking it. Like, if they do, then they're stupid. because
Yeah,
or
I
for
agree.
liking it, you know.
And yes, you and I, we do disagree on a lot of things, but one of the few things that I did tell you when we were off the air was if we're going to really have a great, rational, healthy debate, tweeting is not the right way to go because you can only plead your case so much. I mean, just the other day we were pretty much debating in GIF. And that's just, to me, it had to be done, but it really shouldn't have. I mean, yes, a picture says 1,000 words, but that was a conversation I really should have had with you in the direct message box because I feel that we would have explained our understandings and our views much more rationally and clearly. It's
Fair enough.
Look, it's so
You
hard
have
to
to
do
take
it.
Twitter with a grain of salt. Like, it's all in fun. I don't know. Twitter's kind of a whole
You're
nother.
absolutely right. Listen, if I didn't appreciate your opinions and your views, you wouldn't be on the show today. So anyway, yes, I agree with you 100% and all of that. So let's go into the next question. And that question is going to be talking about what happened with YouTube just earlier this year. And of course, this is a shout out to the small YouTuber army. And this is also one of the main reasons why this live show has been created, because I want more people to know about smaller YouTubers out there. You and I did you fall into that trap, by the way? Just a quick yes or no with the whole demonetization thing. Did you fall into that trap?
The 1001 or the not
The
suitable
one that
for
basically
advertising?
the one that basically says as a YouTube partner you can't monetize your videos anymore. Did you fall into that?
I did
yes
not.
Or no? I also didn't. So that goes to my next question. I want these people who are not part of the monetization process to actually get to be known and actually get some views throughout of it, and maybe they will get to that level. But I really want to know your overall thoughts on the whole changing of the YouTube partner status, and then I will jump in and give you my thoughts.
And I really want to put, someone in the chat room says it's a free country. We have a right. So bad mouthing someone for doing what they have the right to do is wrong. Yeah, people have the right to make whatever kind of content they want.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely,
we're
Charles. I agree with you.
We're just saying what is our preference and what we think is interesting and helpful, and what we like. So as far as like, I just don't really like the clickbaity kind of videos. It's just not for me.
Absolutely.
So that's fine.
So your thought on the changes?
Yeah. So okay. So the changes, I just think, I think that it is true that these are not changes in, these are people that were not relying upon this income for like their like life, because obviously like you can't live off of like under $100 a year. But so I get that like I think some people were probably blowing it a little bit out of proportion, but I just think it just feels kind of like it was just sort of a blow to people's sort of spirits, and made people feel unvalued. And so that, I think, like I said, I think that iTunes is much better about sort of making you feel really good. Like they'll send out emails that like, oh, you've gotten approved, and oh, you've gotten this, and things about your podcast and things like that. So I don't know. I wish that YouTube did that more, and where I feel like there's this sense of sort of hostility on the part of YouTube towards its creators, and particularly the small creators, that the YouTube's kind of like nervous about them, and sort of you're like the sort of the weird cousin that they don't want to talk about, at the wedding or whatever. And
that's a great analogy. I like that. I really do.
That's kind of how I feel. And especially when you have things like this whole Logan Paul thing, like where they were so slow to like act on something that was truly horrible from a big YouTuber, whereas like they're so petty and so hostile towards smaller YouTubers who are trying to do good things. Like, why doesn't YouTube have like a I don't know, like how awesome it would be if they had like I don't know, a small YouTube shout out or something like that on YouTube Red, or if they work to cultivate relationships with smaller content creators. But I don't know, it's just not what they're interested in right now. And so anyway, that's the frustration, I think, is that people want this to be a community, and whereas YouTube wants it to be a service, wants it to be like Netflix or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, here's my overall attitude about it. I am definitely someone who wants to see small content makers grow and network and expand their channels. And a lot of those people are in this chat right now. And I'm glad to see that they're all having a good time listening to all this. I mean, no, I didn't fall into the trap of demonetization. And that's because of the fact that my Gnome docs are my lifeblood, considering the fact that I have videos that have over 1,000 views and tons of hours of watch time. No, I didn't fall into that trap. But when I heard about what was happening, yeah, I was distraught. I was upset because these are some of my good friends. These are people that I've gotten to know over the years who love making the content that they do and really wanted to keep going. And yes, someone in the chats, Lisa Rhiannon, she is someone who I have sort of been mentoring over the last year or two. We've talked about this. She talked to me about how she was a little upset about what was happening. She's felt demotivated, but she's a great content creator. She's got very simple things, but I feel that the fact that she has these simplistic videos, and of course with her reviews of books and her TBRs, she's relevant because everyone who reviews anything is relevant because everybody has a different voice. So
Yeah.
as somebody
But
who didn't
I would
get
just
affected,
I would just say to those people, like I said at the beginning of the stream, is focus on the things that the YouTube is giving you outside of necessarily their like income situation. Because
right?
like I said, like I wouldn't have my job if it wasn't for YouTube. I wouldn't have so many friends. I wouldn't have so count that as your monetization. Try to like look at monetization in another way.
Yeah,
And I think you'll find it's really rewarding. And because like I mean, I even though I technically wasn't on the list, like I still don't, it's not profitable for me, but it is profitable
yeah.
because of all the ways that it enriches my life.
But
So
at the
that's
same,
what I would encourage you
yeah,
to do.
and at the same time, as someone who is not affected, but also
Excuse me.
but that's okay. But also, not a large name. Don't be so upset about being a small YouTuber because when you take a look at some of the biggest names over the last couple of years, like, okay, I'll throw out Logan Paul's name. We're not going to go any further than that. We had PewDiePie and we had Michelle Phan, who is no longer making YouTube videos. They've dealt with a lot more, okay? They have dealt with corporations and contracts and lawsuits. So being a small content creator, knowing what a big content creator goes through doesn't seem so shabby and seems a lot less stressful. So don't quit your day jobs, everybody. Follow your dreams and do what you're doing because
Yeah.
look, I am a data analyst. I organize data for a salary. It is not so glamorous, but I love doing it because I love to organize things. This is my outlet just to talk about my other passions that won't
Yeah.
necessarily make me a billionaire.
Right.
And I personally believe that everybody else should just keep going, keep doing what you're doing, but also to pick up your
But you had,
motivation.
I know you've talked about, I know you have talked about in videos that like the skills you have learned have helped you in your career.
Oh, absolutely. YouTube is
Mm-hmm.
something that can help you with time management, communicating with other people, your writing skills, your speech skills. I have a link to my YouTube channel on my professional LinkedIn page, and I have no shame in the fact that it's there because I know that it helped me and helped me do better at the job that I do because I'm working
Mm-hmm.
with computers all the time. And now I'm actually making videos for the school that I
Mm-hmm.
work for. I'm working on their YouTube channel. I'm promoting the school. I'm trying to up enrollment numbers, get more people to know that the school, which is a very small
Yeah.
nonprofit organization, college exists, So it's very, very
Mm-hmm.
good. So I
Yeah.
feel that as a small YouTuber, don't be ashamed. But what you also need to do in regards to getting your content noticed Don't just make content, communicate with everybody
Right.
else out there. I
Well,
know there's
and
a lot of people who make videos that are very nervous about talking with other people, but let me put it this way. If you're comfortable with sitting yourself in a room alone in front of a camera and talking about things that you love, then talking with other people about things that you love is only going to be just as easy and just as comfortable. The more that you put yourself out there and the more comments and insight that you give to other YouTubers, the more people are going to come to you and learn about you and want to see you succeed.
well, and also, and just do things that bring you joy. Like, yeah, there are going to be
Absolutely.
times when, like, doing the Disney canon, it was a lot of work, and there weren't moments where I was like, what did I get myself into? So I get that. There's that part, but like, it should be a joyful experience for the most part,
Absolutely.
and
It should never feel like a chore or a burden. If it feels like a chore or a burden, then this is obviously something that you shouldn't really do, or if you still do feel that it's something that you should be doing, you should get someone else's opinion to see exactly where your pitfalls are and how to change them.
Yeah, in one of the things that doing this Hallmarkies podcast has really helped me with um is the Hallmark. I honestly think that the Hallmark fandom, the Hallmarkies we call it, the Hallmarkies fandom, I think is the best fandom that's out there, because what I love about them is that they know that they're dumb. They know that they're not like the greatest movies ever in the whole world, but they get joy out of them, and they like
Yes.
them, and they
Yes.
have fun, and so they're just like self-aware in the way that like a lot of other fans aren't. And I've so enjoyed the fandom because they're just so joyful. They just love it. They just
Yeah.
love what they love, and I'm like, this
Exactly.
is right, this is the way it should be. Like, there
Exactly.
should not be this like sense of like, I don't know, like, I just feel like with comic books, with Star Wars, definitely lately, Star Trek lately, even a little bit with Discovery, some of these other fandoms, it's just like they're so angry about it. They're
Yeah.
so upset, and it's like,
Yeah.
this should be something that gives you joy. And if you don't like a certain part of whatever fandom that you're in, oh well, it's no big deal.
Yeah, I'm just so happy that there's nothing but good things being told about the new Maze Runner movie. I really enjoyed that film. But anyway, we're heading into the last couple of minutes, and that's going to give us our last question. And this is something that I hope isn't too thought-provoking, but I think it's going to leave us on a positive note today.
Okay.
What do you want to see as someone who has been making content for so long, and as someone who has seen the platform change in so many different ways for better or for worse? What would you like to see YouTube become in the future as a content creator and as a fan of many others who produce content here on YouTube?
I mean, what would I like? I mean, like I said, I would love for them to make content creators more of a priority, so that when you get flagged for copyright, when you have these different things, like, you have something you can, you have like things you can do, and it just feels like sometimes you'll spend forever making something, you'll upload it, and then it's like, oh well, it's blocked in all these countries. It's very frustrating. So I just wish that that would be what I would like. I don't know. I feel like, for me, I just keep kind of going down this road of sort of podcasting over edited content. That's kind of where I see myself kind of going. That's what I enjoy. And so I don't know about the platform in general. I just think it's going to continue, unfortunately, become sort of more corporate and more. I think that YouTube is trying to become like a mini Netflix, and
Yeah, I agree.
that's just unfortunate.
I do agree, and I think that that's where there's going to be a point in time where all of these streaming services are going to hit a crossroads, because now every network is making their own streaming service. Disney's making their own streaming service now.
Yeah.
Fox is making their own streaming service. CW, everyone is making a streaming service. It's
Right.
all going to, unless television goes the way of the dinosaur, people will unfortunately be forced to do the streaming. And I really hope that that is not where we're going to go, because one of the few things that I am going to say is the cloud is going to get hacked. The cloud is going to crash one day. Something is going to happen to that invincible entity known as the cloud, everybody. And the minute you lose all of your content, all of that money that you spent to have all of these digital files of your favorite things, you're not getting them back for free. Because if you ask for them for free, all of these companies are going to go belly up. You'll see. So you're going to have to shell out money all over again. And that is why, to a certain degree, physical media is not dying. People are now, even vinyl records have made a massive comeback. People are still buying physical media because they know that having a physical copy is going to be in grace if, God forbid, the cloud goes dead. But what I personally want to see is I want to see YouTube hearing the message of the small YouTubers. And I think the voices are getting very, very loud because everybody is talking with each other and everybody is making a splash. I have seen in the last 2 weeks people's subscriber feeds go through the roof, tens of 20s of 30s, hundreds even. There are people that have been seeing their numbers of subscribers go up, and eventually they're going to have to be given those monetization privileges by YouTube. And that is where YouTube is going to have to try and figure out what they truly want to be. Do they want to be a streaming service, or do they want to be something that is done for the people, by the people, as it used to be?
Yeah. Well, in the chat room, somebody said, Indian Insomniac says, the problem with YouTube, though, is the sheer amount of content that is uploaded every hour. Having an actual human eyes on that content is pretty much impossible. I will agree. But what I'm asking for is for there to be a actual point of access for the content creators, a way that we can contact. Not that YouTube will necessarily have human eyes on every video, but when there is an issue, I wish that there was more avenues that we could speak our argue our case, defend our content, which just really isn't.
Oh yeah, and the whole demonetization thing that happened is because of the fact they're being done by bots. And they just announced a couple of weeks ago that they're going to be hiring 10,000 new people for the purposes of actually having human eyes and human brains absorbing the content that's getting posted. 10,000 eyes and 2 pairs of hands from 10,000 different people is a lot of ground that can't be covered.
But they don't even have a contact form, like the most basic of like.
Yeah, I agree.
Customer, they don't even have like a contact form where you can be like, here's my issue, blah blah blah, fill it out, send it in, and hope for some kind of response.
And I agree with you. I hope that customer service actually does happen, and I would like to see them maybe produce more tutorial videos or some insightful videos as to what will happen if, God forbid, you fall into this trap, because it's important. I mean, look, if this still goes in this direction, eventually another platform will be made and it will take everything away. Because again, if you're not a streamer, you're not watching network content on YouTube. You're watching it on television. So they literally will have to shut the networks down on television to force people to watch content on YouTube if they ever want YouTube to be the end all be all. And I really don't see that happening, because there are so many people that are still learning how to use a computer and just learning the basics. But anyway, I feel that right now where we are, the controversy has definitely seen better days. I feel that the unification and the community has taken such a task to become closer and stronger than ever before. And I'm glad that it seems to be continuing in that direction. And I'd like to see this continue through the end of the year. But with that, that's where we're going to be leaving the show today. Rachel, it was an absolute delight to have you on. We had an excellent hour of conversation. And once again, everybody, I want to thank you all for taking the time to sit down with us for the last hour to hear what the two of us had to say. And as being YouTube veterans, I feel that it is great to actually still see the two of us still here, still doing what we're doing. So once again, all of Rachel's information will be provided in the description box below. This video will be going down and going back up on Monday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And once again, I am Steve, your friendly neighborhood Neighborhood Lawn Gnome. Looking forward to another new episode of Sunday Sit Downs to discuss a brand new topic, and more importantly, another new YouTuber to discuss it with. So thank you so much all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and if you're watching the Super Bowl, enjoy the game. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.